doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So it's good to connect with you. I was just saying just before you joined, it's cool. We're getting to chat at the end of the year, 2024. I was thinking about today, actually, I think at the start of this year, or the first couple of weeks of this year, I did a seminar at Sprawl Brawl, and we got to train together a
That
little
was this
bit.
year, eh? Wow, a
Yeah.
lot has happened this year. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like more than a year ago that you were here.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It feels a long, long, long time ago. But
Yeah,
I guess more recent, probably what we should kind of start with is that jiu-jitsu overdose. That
yeah,
looked like a really event.
yeah.
Talk
It
about that
was.
a little bit from like kind of when you first heard about it and like kind of were learning about it until like you went competed on it, the whole deal. Talk about it.
Yeah, well, so like most of the combat jiu-jitsu events had always been in Mexico, like to avoid going through commissions and stuff. Um, Especially the Medusa ones. And so when they had invited me on the first one, when I got the invite and it was in LA, I was like, oh, like kind of bummed because I had all the ones I had watched were always in Mexico and stuff. So then I can't remember why that was even there. But so then when they like, first announced the Jiu-Jitsu overdose and I saw that Medusa was on there, I already just was just like, okay, this is happening. I had put like Medusa on my vision board for this year. And at first I tried to, I think I was like waiting at first, like just being like, oh, I wonder, like I know that they don't do invites until last minute and stuff. And then I've been trying to just work on being more like brave and a better advocate for myself. So then I just messaged Eddie and was just like, hey, I'd be super interested in like going on that event again. And then he told like, yeah, and then he just said absolutely. And um, yeah, then like I didn't hear anything for a while, but then they have like it was a 4 day event, so they had like four seminars, four shows, and then four jiu-jitsu shows as well. Um, so then they put out the all the information to like go. You don't hear a lot like going back and forth between them, so that you get they get like the initial like bout of information. Um, and then yeah, we just showed up, and the rest like there's a 4 day event in a seminar. There's like as soon as you get there, there was like a you do a check-in and like a group chat QR code that you joined. So right from the first night we got there, there was like a big welcome ceremony on the beach where they had like a bunch of like people like dressed for like Mayan warriors doing this like blessing and tribal dance, blessing the belts and stuff. So, and that just like started the whole week. It was a pretty cool event, very, very like unique and very cool to be a part of.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever heard of anything like that.
Yeah.
How many people would you say were there? I saw one picture look like hundreds of people were at
Yeah.
the
Like,
event.
um, it's hard to even say because like, yeah, like I would guess like my guess would be maybe like somewhere between two and 300. Like, there wasn't really like the kind of cool thing about the event is that it wasn't so like it wasn't like just going to one event where you all have to go to the exact same thing and then there's no way that you can interact with all 300 people at a time. Like I didn't even go to every event. I went to every jiu-jitsu show, but I completely slept through one of the seminars. Like I and then the seminar the day of my event, I chose to just kind of I was actually working from home, so I was like just at the room working and like slash resting. Um, so like yeah, like it wasn't like like you just kind of saw different people at different events, and then of course you're in the all-inclusive resort, so you're seeing everybody like in the buffet line and like in the restaurant line, and like you're like just in line for coffee with all these people in the morning and stuff. So it just gives you like a really like unique and like different way of interacting with them. So instead of just like going, having to introduce yourself, like, I'm a huge fan, can I get a picture? And like having that one moment, you just get this whole week of like small little micro interactions where by the end of it, like even people who you were like really starry eyed at the first day, by the end of the day, you're just like, oh, hey, Mike, how's it going? Oh, yeah, you guys had a good night last night. And you're just like chatting as you go past and stuff. So, yeah, it was just a really cool event to be a part of.
Yeah, and actually, that was one of the questions that I had in the chat that we had. Someone asked, "Were you starstruck, or was it hard? Were you nervous competing in front of like big name people like Eddie Bravo and stuff, or was it far enough along that you were kind of like like you said, kind of more like friendly?"
Like there is definitely a thought of like you really want to put on like a good performance, and it's not even necessarily nerves, it's just like the logic of the situation. You have a lot of big names in front of you, and if you can put on a good performance, that's going to be memorable and they're going to like remember you, right? So you definitely remember that. I didn't have a ton of nerves in that regard. Like I've been on bigger events before, and like I have completely shit the bed on big events when I've had my entire province watching me. Like, I don't know, I've just kind of been through the ups and downs of it enough that I feel like I'm pretty level-headed with stuff like that. But I will say that, so she was a 10th Planet girl, and she was like from Cancun where we were. So she had a lot of like friends there, and like Victor Davila, he's from Mexico, and then plus she was a 10th Planet girl, so she's one of like Eddie's students, and the crowd was going like insane for her the whole time, and it was just kind of you're just kind of like, and I remember at one part, I think it was when we stood up for overtime, I can't remember what, but everybody was chanting something, and it was in Spanish, I didn't know what it was, and I just remember being like, dude, like I'm just a girl, like trying my best here,
Yeah.
like damn, like, but we always joke like even it's getting a bit better now, but ever since we came here and then plus being in Cape Breton, I feel like we've always been the away person when we're competing and stuff. Like my first MMA fight, I remember like hearing the crowd just go like wild every time I got punched in the face. I remember just being like, "WTF, guys!" Like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I but yeah,
And you
it's just
guys kind of
definitely a thought
rally
that,
around that too. Like you kind of, like embrace that. I find like
yeah, I
with
don't
Cape
like. For me personally, it doesn't like I know like I think even Jesse has told me that he can kind of get fueled up on that. Like that doesn't fuel me that like that it does not like it negatively affects me, but I'm always just like excuse me, like it doesn't hurt my feelings, but that's like the like shock factor I have. I'm just like, and I think I know that it's not meant towards me. I know that it's like not meant towards me or anything personal, but and I would do the same thing cheering for my friend, but in the moment it just feels really personal. And I'm like, I don't have anything against you guys. Like
Yeah. So your match, combat jiu-jitsu. If people don't know, combat jiu-jitsu, it allows slaps
yeah.
only on the ground though, right?
Yeah, open hand strikes, um, only when the opponent's grounded. And then this time was interesting because they told us just in the rules meeting that strikes were allowed in overtime. So, and apparently they said that that had been going for a few events now. That's the first time I had like heard that or known that. So that was kind of interesting. It was actually also cool because me and Jesse went to the seminar the day before where Eddie Bravo did the first seminar, and the first hour was actually him just kind of talking about just the history of like how everything came about, and like he's a very like good speaker. He's very interesting to talk to listen to. Like he's very easy to listen to. He just told the whole story about, and he remembers like every match from like everything. He's so specific with different athletes and which event, and like even saying things like, yeah, the omoplata has never been hit, and as part of a submission sequence in the overtime. Just crazy for like an organizer and promoter, original one, to just to like know that so like off the like just right off the cuff like that. But yeah, he told us in that rules meeting, like in that like kind of thing about how now they allow overtime strikes. So me and Jesse had like 2 days to practice that because everybody else in my division I think found out in the rules meeting that was like 20 minutes before our division started. um but yeah, the open hand strike. So, and you'll see it like it's like a huge spectrum of how the open hand strikes get used. In I'm just seeing K Breton's comment there. Shout out to K Breton BJJ and Sprawler Brawl. Uh, um, the strikes, like you'll see it like a wide spectrum of how they get used. Like we saw there was like I think 2 matches in the women's division that got finished from strikes, like just straight up not being able to defend, like full blood. You'll see some matches virtually not a single strike was thrown. Some people you'll see throw strikes and you can tell that they're more actual slaps and there's not a lot of damage being done. Then you see some people doing like the actual palm strikes with a lot of downward force and breaking bones and stuff. I was pretty butthurt about not winning, and then the next day walking around the resort and just seeing how messed up people were, like people with their eyes swollen shut and stuff, and I was just like, things could be worse.
Yeah, I
Uh,
watched your match. So yeah, your match was on Fight Pass. You can still go watch it if you have UFC Fight Pass.
yeah, I still
And
have to go watch it.
I would say you won the regulation. Like it's a
Yeah,
10-minute regulation, and I would say if anyone watches that, they would say you won. It went to overtime, and then you lost in the overtime. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely in your shoes. I would be upset too, like because I feel like you dominated the regulation. Is that how
Yeah.
you felt about it?
Yeah, like there was definitely a couple of mistakes I made, and like even just like I had been like this isn't even an excuse, but like I had been sick the couple weeks before, so like I had burnout in my arms and stuff during regulation, and like and so I think why I got so butthurt was because like I haven't been tired in a match in a very very long time, and like I don't know why that it just messed with me after being like and even like tapping out to a choke, I feel like, I don't know, it's just one of those things after where I just kept wondering if I like could have been tougher or could have been harder. I don't even know how many seconds there was left before the bell. I know it was very, very close. But it was just, I don't know why, but this one has just been like especially like torturous on my heart. Just it just felt so close and just so like I was holding it, and then just like sand being like, wait, what? Like I had that. Yeah, the in the overtime round, and I'm very confident for overtime rounds. Usually I'm like, when I go into these kind of rule sets, if I have any nerves beforehand, like one of the things I can like reassure myself with is like all I have to do is not get tapped in regulation, because it's very unlikely I'll get tapped in an OT round, and I'm usually pretty good at like beating for the escape time and stuff. Um, and then I thought I had escaped when I came on top and just honestly let my guard down. And I think it was almost like a bit of, and this is like my error, like you have to fight tactically, but when you get on top and somebody has an arm triangle choke in regular jiu-jitsu, they are going to let go of that and start getting frames and underhooks and like, and I just kind of sat back being like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I got out of that. And then when she flipped me back over then and sunk it in tighter, and I was just like, no, not only am I not out, I'm in deeper. Like,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I remember I've like, and still, and even an arm triangle, that's not a submission. I feel like that's like a high percentage one, and like that, I like that you'd say that you get tapped out to a lot, unless you're fighting with like Jay Rorschach and stuff. So, but like she got the arm triangle, and I was just like, oh no, I'm fine. And then I was just like, oh, this actually could be a choke, and I was just like, okay. Then I knew it was time to tap, and I was like, okay, well, even if it's time to tap, let's just see if we can ride it out till the buzzer. And I thought we were under 10 seconds, and I was like, we couldn't do it. And then she brought her shoulder up and covered my mouth with like her rash guard covered my mouth, and that's when I just was like, I can't do it anymore. My coach from Sterling, you met Sterling actually
Yeah.
from BC, so he was there coaching me. I was like literally could reach out and touch Eddie Bravo's foot. Yeah, those ones I wouldn't say that like you get like really nervous beforehand fighting in front of those some big names, but you definitely feel the losses more after.
Yeah, like you said, it's just like you want to do going in, you want to do well in front of these big names. They're watching, but just like being a competitor too, you almost kind of have to be like emotionless going into it.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
that's the only way I feel like you can survive as a competitor.
Oh, absolutely. And this has been a big lesson for me too, because I feel like even all like the losses I've had in this year, like they were pretty, like a lot of them were just cut and dry, like where I got beat by somebody better than me, or got like, their game got working faster, or I got caught in a submission. Like it was all very like cut and dry. So those ones where you just kind of feel like you're like, oh, if I could just reverse the clock, and do that a bit differently. But then, and so then having that and going through that, like I haven't I haven't had that kind of like, I don't even want to use the word regret, because that's such a harsh word, and it's not really regret. It's just an experience. But like that feeling of it just kind of gave me that lesson of it's time to like walk the walk that I'm always like talking about. Like losses don't define you. Rule sets, like, rule sets sometimes define the winner more than the better grappler will. Like I always say this up to other competitors and my students, and like then I would kind of like, when I was super disappointed after I put it in the group chat to the guys, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really, really thought I was going to win that. I knew my division. I had, like, I knew that there was a very good possibility that I could win that bracket. I didn't think that the last time I was in Medusa. I did think that this time. And I was just really excited to make a name for Sprawler Brawl and put our gym on the map and stuff. And I was saying sorry to the guys after, and they were all just like, why are you like sorry? Like, nobody here cares. And so then it just kind of reminded me, I was just like, oh, this is like the perfect time to just embody all those things that I'm preaching. Like when I have the belt on, like, no, you just got to stay positive, guys. But it's like when you're on the other end, it's still important to like, because you're always going to have those losses. Like you're just always going to have them. You can be the best in the world. You're just always going to have them. And you just like have to just like skip over them as fast as you can. Use it for like the lesson, like use all this stuff. Even if it just sucks and there is no lessons, like you just got to move on, right? Like you can't dwell on it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like you just got to kind of have to get back on the horse. Like
Yeah.
it reminds me a lot about like my last tournament match that I had too. Like same situation. Like I got on the back, I'm like in my best position, and I just couldn't get the finish. The guy got out. It's like you're like on like the goal line of like,
Yeah.
like, okay, like I'm ready to stand up and celebrate this match.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, fuck, like this never happens. You got out.
I know.
Like, things happen and you lose. But yeah, it's like, obviously, like right away when it happens, like you're upset about it. And you need like, I would say like maybe a couple days to kind of sit with
Yeah.
this. But then you have to be able to reflect on it and just be constructive with it. Like you said, sometimes you just get caught and you lost. Other times there's other issues you can kind of drill down on and diagnose.
Yeah.
But I think that's a healthy way to look at it as a competitor.
Yeah, totally. And just finding like I come back to like different lessons like this a lot, but it's like even to sum it up like in a really lame way, it's like if it was easy, everybody would do it. But like it literally comes down to like the people who succeed are the ones who don't stop trying it. I always just feel like all those like lame cliches you always hear, it's like actually just the truth of the matter. It's just like the more time like anybody can focus on their faults, and it's not about like I'm just such a logical person. So for me it used to be like, but like I can logically show you all these losses, and like that is like proof for why I'm not the best and stuff. And until I finally learned that like self-belief isn't logical, like it actually has to be like in the face of logic, and you have to start saying things that you don't believe yet, and like just kind of saying them to yourself until you believe them. Like you kind of have to put like the horse in front of the cart, or whatever, however that saying goes. And same thing with the losses. Like yeah, you could focus on the loss because it's not like people are, or not like I'm trying to say like, oh, the loss doesn't matter, or like, oh, you are the better one. No, like maybe you were the worst one. Maybe you do need to put a lot more time in the gym. Like it could be anything, like a lot of things. But like if you just keep telling yourself like, yeah, that was just a one-time thing. Like, okay, I'm going to learn from that. Okay, like now I'm going to make sure my back finishes are so good. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that like I'm having more rounds from the bottom, so I'm used to my arms burning out. Like and just kind of pushing yourself that way and turning it into this positive like momentum thing, because
Oh,
both options are valid. You just have to like choose to do the harder one.
yeah. And then like reflecting back on like your loss or your match, like, looking like, is it really a loss? You got to compete on UFC Fight Pass. If you go on Fight Pass and put in Sara Wilson, you have multiple matches.
Yeah.
Pretty badass.
Oh yeah.
Not people around here can say that. So.
And like, well, and I used to, cause I used to get a lot of nerves before big events, like where I used to like dread them. Like I'd be dreading going, and I'd just be like, what is happening? Like I begged for this opportunity. So I don't have any of that, luckily. But even sometimes when it's just like, even combat jiu-jitsu is the same as MMA. Like it's a bit different than jiu-jitsu, where you're kind of like going out there being like, oh, I might like not be okay tomorrow. Like you just kind of have that like knowledge going into it. So it's a bit different of a mindset. And so because I get concussions, and so that's like something always on my mind. And then you're watching like the first night for the Mexican combat, we watch guys that get their ribs broken, their faces blown, their knees blown. Like then in my, like I was the second night, so we saw like multiple girls leaving completely just bloody like TKOs, and you're just kind of like, okay, like I might get hurt here, like that's okay. And then I remember like thinking to myself before I went out there, I was like, okay, if somebody told you that you could have this opportunity, but you were going to get like TKO'd in a really bad fashion, and like it was going to be very bloody and your nose is going to be broken, like would you still take the opportunity? I was like obviously, like so. And then I was just like, oh, then you have nothing to fear, like let's go.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, super cool event. What were some other highlights for you just from the whole jiu-jitsu overdose event?
I will say that I felt very inspired. I feel like I am a pretty nice person, but I felt even more inspired to be even more like open and cool. So I guess maybe I think that I am a nice person, but I am just also like shy or get introverted sometimes, and just kind of don't always like put myself out there when I could more. And watching all these people just be like so down to earth, just like so chill. Every time they see you, they're just like Mike Beltran was a good example. Like every morning when I saw him, he just be like, "Hey Sarah, how's it going? Like you have a good night?" Like just like a little chatty old man, like And it was just like Eddie, same thing. Like whenever you go talk to him, he says you like tons of compliments. Like as soon as I finished my match, he came up to me and was just like like you did so awesome. Like you're such a legend. Like you're always gonna be part of this show. Like don't worry, you're always gonna come back. You're always gonna be part of it and stuff. And it just kind of like. And like to be fair, I saw him say that to other people over the course of the week, so I didn't take it that personally. But these people don't have to like always be making other people feel so good, but they just choose to, And I was like, I want to make more people feel like that. That's just so nice of them. So I'd say that was kind of like just a cool highlight. Everybody just being, maybe I feel like sometimes I have a bit of like imposter syndrome, so it was just really cool. Everybody just feeling like an equal with all these really cool people. The weather was obviously like a huge perk, and then since you're all in the same resort, it was like you have the seminar every day would be from 11 to 1. The show every day would be from like 5 to or 6 to 9, like something like that. And then they'd have the comedy show in the evening from like 11 to 1 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, the day we missed the comedy show is because we stayed up for the comedy, and then they moved the seminar early the next day, so it was at 10. and we got back to the resort at like 2 a.m. from the comedy, and then just like slept until like 11:30 and missed the Nathan Orchard seminar. So that was like kind of a bummer, but yeah, Nathan Orchard did a seminar, like Eddie Bravo, and then like a couple of his other black belts like Curtis and Victor, Devalia, and then the like the Martinez brothers did it on the last day.
Was there
And then
like technique wise, anything that you learned that you like were kind of amazed by, or anything that you're trying to work on now? Any like one technique that you
yeah, like it was actually super cool because I don't even think it was intentional. Like I think it just kind of happened, but like a lot of 10th Planet stuff got shown, like those systems. So like Eddie Bravo showed a whole system off of like kind of like the go-go grip, like the rubber guard kind of where you get the foot there, and then anyways, it's like from that kind of setup, and instead of going through the whole rubber guard route, he just took it to like a sweep and an armbar that like I found very, like when we were drilling, I was just like, oh, this is like sick and something that I could totally see happening, especially when people like hunker down in your guard and they're not willing to give you anything to work off of. And so like, 'cause I don't necessarily find rubber guard like a super strong or like high percentage guard. It works. It works when it works, but like if you can negate the rubber guard on somebody, well, now they have no weapons, right? So
yeah.
it was, and then the Boogie brothers. So then I keep calling them Boogie brothers, Boogie and like of the Martina brothers. But so Boogie showed more rubber guard stuff. So he showed more of the submission chain. So now that we kind of played with rubber guard on the first day, it was kind of like, oh, I can see now if the sweep doesn't work. Like it was kind of just being like, oh, I could actually see where this fits into my game, and I never thought I would say that. And then Gio did a whole bunch of stuff on the bear trap and like the matrix and stuff. But again, like they just showed it in such a very like applicable way that you're like, you don't have to be like a guard player or pulling guard to be playing these actually. But it was funny because Gio, when he's a really good teacher actually. I was very surprised, like very in-depth, very concise, very easy to understand. But in the beginning of the thing, he's just like, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I'm a butt scooter, I love butt scooting. And he just like chanting it, and like, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, the seminars were sweet. Like the food at the resort was pretty good because like it was all inclusive, so we all got to like, you just bumped without the restaurants, and then the shows were every single night. And then one of the cool highlights was that like they had a different jersey for every night of the show. They had like the combat jiu-jitsu one, the Medusa one, the Mexico one, and the EBI one, plus like a fifth one that was for the whole event. So that was super fun. You got one if you competed in an event, plus you got like one for the entire event. So it was just cool, like everybody wearing the different rash guards and the different, or like jerseys on the different days. And I thought that was just I've never seen anything like that. That was just such a cool thing. And you could just tell who was competing and who, and like, and sometimes you didn't know if somebody was like a fan because a lot of people were there who weren't competing and stuff. So, but it definitely felt like a badge of honor when you're walking around and you're just like, yeah, like, no, wearing it as a competitor. Like,
yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. So, yeah, that sounds like an amazing event. And like you said, you've competed a lot this year. What are some other events that you would have competed in 2024?
So I started the year off with ADCC because that was in February last year, like in Toronto, like it is going to be again this year.
Right.
So that was the one where I blew my knee out, and so that compromised me for the next half of the year. But I did compete a couple times right after that, but it was all locally. Like I did the quintet teams with a guillotine.
Oh, that was this year too. I remember that. Watching.
Yeah, that was it was.
Yeah,
it was just a few weeks after I hurt my knee, so I think sometime in February. Then we did the WTF teams event as well. I did ADCC trials. I won 2 FLA belts this year, and then or 1 or 2, I can't even remember. But then it was my MMA fight. That was like the big and I think I've won a couple breakthrough titles this year too. I've won at least 1 FLA and 1 breakthrough. I can't remember if it was 2 of each. Time is just melting together.
A women's teams one too, I think. I don't know if there was ever a video that I saw from that one, but that was one guillotine put on? Yeah,
the women's one was, I put that on, but I didn't compete in it because I was like organizing it.
Okay.
But yeah, so me and Nick together, like with like the WTF and Guillotine did like a collab. We're going to be doing another one in March of this year, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
and then
the teams events are fun.
We competed on the same card, I think in April. I competed against Robert Santos.
Yeah, that's where I got the belt from.
You won the belt. Was that when you went against Jennings
Yeah.
in the final? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You had some
Okay,
good
yeah.
matches in that one.
And that, yeah, I know that was the one other time I had three matches to win, but the other time I did, it was when they did that format where they did the matches in the morning and
Yeah,
then the rest in the evening. So that was the first time for FLA that I had to do like three matches in an evening. So that was fun getting to get so much mat time too. And then yeah, the MMA fight from was in September, and that was like 3 solid months. I didn't compete because when did I just compete? I did oh, I did guillotine again just recently, and that was my first time competing. No, I did main character before then. Like that was all just recently, but the main character ones, and that was my first time competing since FLA when I won that belt in jiu-jitsu, which is crazy. Like 6 months is a crazy long time for me to go without competing in jiu-jitsu. Like I had my MMA fight, but that's like I don't think that that's happened since COVID.
yeah. No, you're usually super active with
Yeah.
competitions. If you had to pick one or a couple of like your top moments or top matches, top fights, whatever from this year, what would be like your top three?
Um. Well, at ADCC Toronto was my first time ever like submitting black belts in competition. I had only ever competed against black belts one time before, but I beat them by EBI overtime rules. So that was my first time like submitting a black belt in competition, and that was cool. My MMA fight was definitely a very like cool moment. I did not anticipate like how what that was going to make me feel when I won. I was like so proud of myself, and it's not something and it made me like by how proud I was feeling, it made me really realize how little I ever let myself be proud of myself because I was just like, whoa, is this what attaboy feels like? This is nice. Like,
And I was
and
at that
so
one too. I was at that one too, and you won by choke, right?
yeah, yeah, and in the first round too and stuff, and like because I had a lot of like it had been like over 2 years since I had competed at MMA. I had gotten a horrible concussion and fought like not that good. I think in my first one, it was just a very like I think just I genuinely did not know if I was able to compete without getting brain injury. I didn't know if I was good enough. I didn't know if I was gonna get messed up again, but I was just like still brave enough just to like try. And I was so surprised I won in the first round. I did not. There's sometimes where you go into matches being like, I'm gonna tap it. You sometimes you have that mindset, and I remember just being like, God, if I come out alive, that's all I'm asking for. Like, so that was. So I'd say like if I had to rank them, it'd probably be like my MMA fight first, and then probably like winning against like the ADCC Toronto was a cool event. That was like my first ADCC too, like winning on that like podium before. I feel like the ADCC value has went down a bit over the year, but it was still when like the value is high on medaling there. Um, and then I that one, like I guess I'd put the Medusa one last just because of the experience being so cool, even though it wasn't a win. But I would give like honorable mention to my FLA victory of the belt because that was a very like hard tournament for me mentally. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and like I just really like just showed up for myself in that one and pulled it off. So uh, I was grateful that that one went in my favor.
Yeah, and I say too because you've won that FLA Kumite like 4 or 5 times now. And like I told
Yeah,
you how
yeah,
hard
four
that is.
times
Like
plus the super fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
4 times plus a super fight, and all 4 of those times it's been at least 3 matches, right?
Yeah, like two or three, because sometimes they've done eight or they've done four women brackets before. Yeah,
So
like the
two to like 2+ matches. So like
yeah,
to do
yeah,
that like 4 or 5
yeah,
times,
exactly.
it's pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Tough to do. Yeah, so that's
Well, I remember actually you like I wasn't very happy with my performance at that last FLA, but like I said, I was just happy that I pulled it off in spite of like not having a good performance. And I remember it was you posted, I think, on your story or somewhere. I saw you write somewhere like that it was so impressive for someone to win 4 times because they don't know about like injury, drop, all those things. And I felt very validated by that because I feel like when you win so many times, there's like a bit of like and I'm not saying this in a complaining way, but I just feel like there's like a bit of like almost like people almost like root for the other person just because you're the person who always
yeah.
wins, and that's just human nature. That's what I do when I watch other people. Like that's nothing personal or anything like that. And so I just felt very validated, being like, people don't understand what it's like to have to like just pull off like a because all you do is you're like, oh, you just won again, but I'm like, oh yeah, like yeah, I just feel like there's a lot more like riding on your plate when you're the like coming in on such a heavy like what's the opposite of an underdog, an overdog? Like I don't
Favorite.
know.
Yeah,
A favorite,
like
yeah.
and all it takes is one slip up to lose, one injury. It's just like it could
Oh,
be
totally.
a
Yeah.
little minor thing, and even just any little mental like lapse. It could happen so easily.
Oh, but like, and
And
it's happened to me this year in tournament with like people, like I lost to a purple belt in Texas from just yeah, like I do just stupid stuff happens. You just never know. Like you can't guarantee. I always tell people that like the better grappler doesn't always win a match. Like that's not unfortunately how it works.
and so you competed under a lot of different rule
Yeah.
sets too, because every organization uses a slightly different rule set. What was your favorite rule set that you competed under this year?
Well, like the combat jiu-jitsu is definitely my favorite. It's so fun. It just like is so unique. And it just changes the whole role so much. Like in such an awesome way too. Like you can just like all of a sudden like, yeah, you're just like struggling with somebody else and you're like, oh yeah. But I would say that, but like that's a very like specific rule set, and like as far as longevities, that's not something you can compete in all the time. But I do really like breakthroughs rule set. That is my favorite rule set to compete under. I really like long matches. I think like 10 minutes I think is a great time. Like I even like 10 to 15 minutes is a perfect time for me. Um, I have really good cardio, so that doesn't even usually even begin to play a factor. And then I like how it's like the no rules for 5 minutes, so it gives you like all the opportunity just to kind of play whatever game you want. And it like makes it less likely that somebody's going to get like a fluke takedown in the beginning and then you're just not able to recover from it, and then you have the points at the end. And I like how the points are at the end too, because then I feel like you have a bit more wear and tear, then people's true technique and stuff comes out, and you I just feel like it's a very like I feel like that rule set really helps the better grappler win. Like that's what I like about it. There's not a lot of matches that you'll see and under that rule set where you're like, oh, that's not who I thought
Yeah,
won. Like like so like usually you're just kind of like, or you see who's good. Like you start to see them pull away by like the 7-8 minute mark and stuff. So like I really like that rule set.
yeah, I would agree. I think that's a good rule set. I would say the shorter the round time, then the difference in the rules. Like you said, it's not always
Exactly.
the better grappler who wins. Whoever can play the
Yeah.
rules, then is going to be who wins, right?
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, just kind of like shift and focus a little bit more towards your gym, Sprawl or Brawl, because I think it's grown a lot, even just this year.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about Sprawl or Brawl, and I know they have a great community of people at the gym. Just talk a little bit about it.
Um. Yeah. We got a great like group of guys. I'd say like yeah, starting like last fall, we just started everyone just started kind of like working together to just make it more collaborative and just like because Cape Breton's growing, so you just kind of want to like get your name out there and let people know um like what's available to them if they're new to the area. So I just have been like loving everything that's been going on there. We had some people return who had been like some of the SOB like OGs that I never even had met before. So like they came back to training. We had some people from other clubs come join us. We had some people who were off for a while, like from different, like off for a while, even from different gyms, and then come join us, move back to the area. So some of it was like just coincidental timing of people's like movements, and then like there was a lot of work. Like Justin does a lot of work on the schedule. Wayne does a lot of work. Wayne's been teaching. I've been teaching. Jesse's been teaching. Liam's been teaching. We have like so many coaches that all pitch in. So you just get to have this like huge collaborative group of coaches who are all just like brainstorming, working on stuff. Like we all work together on um, like making the posters, making the calendars. Like we have a group chat, so you just kind of throw it in there. Can somebody do this? Like um, just like it's just a very collaborative effort. So it doesn't really feel like a couple people on the top are responsible for doing everything. And then I think everybody is just like genuinely so passionate and hungry that it's just everybody's just there for the same goal. We just are all there to get better. A lot of people are interested in competition, so that you usually have like somebody's momentum in the room to ride off of. Like we usually are doing some kind of camp for somebody at that time. And then yeah, like and then recently actually like the last guy who I can think of that joined recently was Adam McNeil, who is from Zombie
Oh,
Proof, but
yeah.
he's like he's been teaching too. and he's like really keen on the morning sessions. So now I've been getting like regular morning sessions in, so it just been like really really like good people that I respect have been like it just been nice feeling like you don't have to like be the source of knowledge for other
Yeah.
people, and like still being able to like get knowledge from other people, because in a small place sometimes you don't have a ton of other like coaches to look up to. Like we're usually driving to Pictou to go train with like Jay and Jarrett and stuff. That's our closest gym, and it's like 3.5 hours away. So it's been cool just everybody growing at the same time and doing their self growth. Like Justin does a ton of research on wrestling. Adam has the most insane stacked BJJ fanatics account you've ever seen that he lets us all use. Like Liam and Jesse, I'd say, are like our in-house like MMA guys. Lucas does the striking too. We just have, sorry, one second, my dad's calling me. We just have like we have like judo guys, like we have like Ro, Kyle, Colton, who are all judo guys, so everybody's like expert in their own little fields, but then and then like able to bring it together. So like we have great wrestlers, we have great grapplers, we have great strikers, we have great Muay Thai guys, like we have everybody, and everybody does like their own independent learning and then brings it back to the table. And I just feel like we have like so much momentum going on right now that it just makes it really, really easy to train. Like you just like everybody's just so hungry for the extra sessions, getting there early, and like it's really easy to ride off like kind of the coattail of that when everybody else is so motivated.
Yeah, no, I would say I agree. Anytime, even if it's someone else competing or one person's competing, other people will kind of get fired up and excited, and it just kind of brings more energy like to the training. I think it's good for
Yeah.
people who are doing that and stuff. And
Yeah.
I saw you guys had a big like seminar too, and your like original coach
Yeah.
came from BC and
Yeah.
gave you black belt, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was cool. Like I obviously had a suspicion that the black belt was coming just because of the timing of things and like him being out here and stuff. So that was super cool. It was super cool to see like um because like obviously now I've been training with Sprawl Brawl for 4 years, so or I don't know how long, a few years at least. So I've definitely have more roots here. But like I came here just like very loyal to my head coach, and very like always talking about his technique. And when people would like compliment a lot of my stuff that I'm teaching them, it's just like, oh, it's actually just from my coach. So I always like joke that it's like your like grandpappy or like your grandfather like in jiu-jitsu, like your coach's coach, so like his coach, like my coach's coach is Mark Lehman, and who he obviously has a ton of respect for. Mark Lehman's like an OG in the game. So, and I always like talk about how I can't wait to meet my like grandpappy of jiu-jitsu, because I've heard so much about him and stuff. So it was just cool getting to like introduce all my friends to my grandpappy, like, or like show them their grandpappy, I guess. And then yeah, so then he gave my black belt. And then he came with his girlfriend, and so I knew that he was proposing to her on that trip.
Oh,
And like just so everybody knows, if you have a secret or surprise, like this is not like where you bring that knowledge. And so like I like, oh, I just wanted him to get over with so much. And so then after, I was holding it pretty well, but then when I got promoted and we're all hanging out, and she's like congratulations, I just wanted to be like, you're getting promoted too. Like I wanted so badly. I couldn't even like. I almost just wanted them to leave because they were leaving the next day. I was like, just get out of here before I ruin it for everybody. Like, but yeah. So then he got engaged too, and then because his girlfriend actually has a lot of family out here in Cape Breton, or in Nova Scotia at least. So they had a lovely time, and they were actually like, because it was kind of like a bit of that thing where like he's coming to my gym, and I'm like, do you think we're like, are we good? Have I been doing a good job while you're gone? And yeah, and even he said, because well, and I even made it like I remember the first night he was just like, because they got like all screwed around at the airport and got delayed, and they had to fly through the night and like do all that crazy stuff, and then plus their like 4 hour difference of the time zone. And the first day that we trained, he's like, yeah, maybe because I think he came in and rolled on the first night, and then did the first day of the seminar. And then on the first day of the seminar was when he's like, I'm pretty burnt out. Maybe we'll save the rolling for the second day. And like I know him, like he always rolls. He's like a very like good athlete and hardened person. So I wasn't like worried about him like physically. And I was just like, oh, like I like one of the selling points of the seminars, I was like telling everybody that you're gonna roll with them, just to be like my coach is gonna beat you up. Like I can't wait. Like it's not. And then he was just like looked at me, just like, okay. And so then not only did he have to roll, but like I was going around, I wanted to make sure that he was getting like time in with all like the higher level guys, especially just because not that there's any kind of hierarchy, but like they're gonna benefit from like like he just is he's so much better than all of us in that room, and it just like a good ass kicking, it just does tons for you, you know. So I would like, I was just calling over one at a time, like the biggest guys in the room, like he just had to fight everybody, like from like, you know, top belt and size down and stuff, like. And then he said at the end that he told me privately, and he like told the gym at the end that he was just like so surprised by how dense our talent was for like being such a small gym in the middle of absolutely nowhere, like, and just how that says a lot about like the work we were putting in. Then when we had Jay and Jared up a couple weeks later for us, or like a couple months later, I guess, for a seminar, they were saying the same thing about how like our gym reminds them of when they were starting out, just like having to kind of source all your own knowledge and stuff. So it's just been nice having all those like validation from all the different grandpappies lately.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, it's small world, the jiu-jitsu world, because actually I took one of Sterling's classes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I ended up in Kelowna for a family wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you messaged me and you're like, yeah, you got to go train with my.
Absolutely, yeah.
I told them that you're coming, so I was like, well, I guess I got to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was awesome. And one thing that I remember from his class is that he taught like a lot of moves in combination, which is not something that I do, but I always think like I should do that. And like, because he would be like, you know, usually I'll show like ankle lock details, like, okay, I'll show the entry, get everyone to drill that, then I'll show the finish, get everyone to drill that. But he showed, I don't know if this is something he does all the time, but he was like, it'd be 3 or 4, sometimes maybe 5 moves like in a chain. He'd be like, okay, you do the single leg and then you hit the guard pass, then you spin to go to the back, then you jump on the back, get the choke. I feel like it was like move, and like I like that. I like how you're like kind of practicing it.
Yeah.
It's like
he doesn't always he won't always train them like that long, but he'll definitely at least do like a few, like 2 or 3, like here's the pass to this submission, and especially like with things ending in a submission, and so I actually like that, and like it teaching that way now, especially when I do seminars, or like teaching, you know, groups of people, like when I just did the women's class, for example, when you're only going to have like people for like one day and you want to get as much into them, because then I find that you like by the time that you're at the last step, you've repeated that first part of the step so many times that like you get all those extra reps in, or say it's like a variation of a pass, but you're ending with like the arm triangle finish every time, so you're working the different chains of the passing, but you're always coming back to that arm triangle, so they're getting like all those reps on the like on one or the other end, because I feel like the hardest part about coaching is just trying to get people to retain stuff. Like, you think when I first started coaching, I thought that like just knowing a lot of stuff and being able to show other people how much I knew was like the thing of coaching, and like just those days where you're like looking around at everybody's face looking at you and you're like, I am messing this up so badly. Like,
yeah, sometimes it almost feels like show and tell, don't you feel like you know, like I can show you all these cool moves, but like you're not gonna be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
and sometimes like, you can just tell that people aren't. You can just tell people aren't getting it too. Like, oh, everybody's like flopping around, and you're just like, do I start over? Do I just scrap this technique altogether? Like, but yeah, no, and it was cool having Sterling down too, because I feel like a couple of people came up to me and they were just like, oh, I see like where you get your teaching style from. Because I told them beforehand, I was like even like the little like sayings I do, like I don't mean to copy them, but like it just, you learn from somebody for so many years, it just like comes out. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm like literally just a replica, like it's all plagiarized, all of it. Like,
yeah, no, so that's awesome. So yeah, it's like been a wicked year. You got a lot of competition in MMA fights, got your black belts. Is there anything that you have on your horizon for 2025? Are you going to do any more MMA fights? Do you have any more combat jiu-jitsu, regular jiu-jitsu? What's in your plans coming up?
I would like to do all of those things. I'm going to actually do something very unusual first and take a rest. I'm actually in the middle of that right now. I didn't go to wrestling today and it hurt my heart. But I got like sick back to back right before, like right around Texas. I think it was before and after. I can't remember, but like I got like respiratory stuff back to back that like floored me. Then I got hurt in Texas, and then I got food poisoning on my way back from Mexico, and now my back's run out. Like, this has all been in the course of 3 weeks, and it doesn't, like, I'm usually somebody who always just pushes through this, and I've just been having this very strong feeling like maybe I just need like a true rest, and not even a rest necessarily from training, but it just, to me, a rest means that like a day like today, when I wake up, it doesn't matter that wrestling's at 11. I am like completely drained, so that means that I'm like resting, and so that doesn't line up with class time. So tomorrow, if I wake up and I'm feeling fine, I'll go to class. But if it just is about like shifting the priority from making sure like that you're at every session to my well-being, So I'm gonna do that for just a bit and try and get some injuries healed up here and get all these sicknesses that are still dwelling off. And then I'm gonna just I don't have anything booked right now. Like I was thinking about doing the ADCC Toronto one in February, but I don't know if I'm just willing to go travel again right now. Like I'm just friggin' tired. I've been traveling so much lately and competing so much. And then FLA offered me doing like a bit of like an interviewing role on that same card on that same night, and I've been desperately wanting to like break into like doing some kind of like commentary, getting behind the mic and the camera like in
Yeah.
some way for different organizations. So I'm hoping to kind of I am hoping to be very successful in competition, but I'm hoping to also this year kind of branch off a bit. I want to get more onto my like doing more technique videos. I'm starting like this like personalized coaching business that we're rolling out in January, and then I have like a couple like ebook ideas that I've been like slowly working on, but those I don't know if they'd be ready by the end of this year. But yeah, just try to find like a bit more jiu-jitsu paths that aren't necessarily just competing, but also still competing. I have my breakthrough belt to defend. I don't think FLA is doing any more kumites, so I'd like to get back in the FLA cage. And then my big goal is to try to become like a ranked grappler this year. That was my 2024 goal, so it didn't happen. So now it's getting bumped to 2025 goals.
Yeah, no, I think I think you said a couple of good things there. Like it's good to prioritize rest, especially you compete a lot. Your body needs a break, And even if you can still keep training, but
Yeah.
like maybe not pushing yourself.
Totally. I believe truly that like rest and well-being, because it's not even like rest, but like, yeah, well-being, all that stuff is like the true skill and mark of a high level athlete. Like it's just because that's where I've just kind of seen it. Like anybody can just work like a dog. Like it doesn't actually, that's actually fairly easy to do.
Yeah,
But being able to moderate and like know when to sit down on the couch and when like, and being able to listen to your own body and know when it's laziness that's telling you not to go or when it's rest, and like being able to really regulate and understand that, I think is a very high level skill.
yeah, no, 100%. And like different things in life take energy. Like I feel like for me, my life has changed quite a bit. I still have my gym, but I have 2 kids now. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of my
Yeah.
time. So like, I still enjoy competing, and I still plan to compete. But one of my goals for this year is to get Presley BJJ in a team grappling
Oh,
competition.
amazing.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome. So
I
yeah,
thought,
you guys did one
didn't
last
you
week.
guys do a team?
Yeah, we did, but I
Okay.
wasn't on the. I would like to like be on the team
Okay.
with the guy and kind of like go in there. So yeah, we did have a
Because
team
I
one.
think, yeah, I
So
remember seeing, yeah, that one. But yeah, you're right. You were coaching.
yeah,
Because I think Breakthrough and Guillotine are both doing teams events this
yeah.
year.
So yeah, that's 2 potential good opportunities. I'd like to maybe hit up one of those ones. So
And
and there's a lot
Guillotine
of
will
good
probably
teams.
have the pitch.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, and there's a lot of good teams around Nova Scotia. So I think you'd potentially see
Yeah.
some really good matches.
Yeah. Maybe we'll meet each other in one of the teams, because I think SOB is going to put a couple teams out too.
Amazing. Yeah, that'd be wicked. So yeah, lots of interesting events. Like, what about like kind of big picture, like CJI two? Like, they say that's going to be a teams thing. Is there anything like on the big stage of jiu-jitsu that you're kind of looking forward to, or any people that you're looking forward to seeing what they do this
Yeah,
year?
like I feel like as far as like I'm going to try to prioritize opportunities that will get me ranked, because there's just so much competing and traveling as a Canadian athlete you have to do, and so that really narrows it down to like IBJJF, ADCC trials, because opens don't even count anymore. Main character for women, they do put their events on there, and anything Eddie Bravo puts out. So those 4 kind of events, so like ADCC Open or IDCC trials wouldn't be happening this year. IBJJF, I'm now a black belt and not registered under them, and don't have a coach who is registered under them. So I just have to. That is hopefully that is something I'm manifesting is going to fall into my lap of how that's going to work. I'd love to do worlds, but then other than that, it's just like different opportunities that kind of come up, right? Like I have it on my like dream list for 2025 to get onto like, who's number one or Fight Pass Invitational or something like that. But I'm not quite sure. Like, unless they were bringing an event to Canada, which I don't think they'd be doing, I'm not really sure if they would pull me in, because they always seem to do like, a big name and then somebody local.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure if I have like the star power behind my name yet to be like the out of town person, but
But you never
yeah.
know. And I like how you're like, you want to project that. Like, it's a dream, put on your board, background on your phone, whatever it is. I think it is that does do something. I really do believe that too.
Definitely.
Like, you've got to
Yeah.
put those opportunities in your mind and out there to like have the actual chance. Because when it does happen and it does show up, like, you want to be ready.
I did a vision board for the first time ever, like last New Year's Eve. And most of it, like there was some, career related stuff, some personal stuff, but, a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff. And it was really cool seeing it, a lot of it, like most of it unfold. That's why like I had the Medusa belt up there, and that's why I was just like so surprised when I didn't win it, because I was just so like, I was like, what? But it was already mine. What do you mean? Like, but I would highly recommend doing those for people, because I think not only does it, having it out constantly just kind of triggers your mind to, I think they say it works like, confirmation bias. If you constantly have it in your subconscious, as your mind's like surveying your atmosphere, it's going to always be looking for things that are going to align you to those kind of goals. So I think that's like on the big picture, but I think it also really helped me give a lot of like power to the things I accomplish, because I am not great at doing that. Like, even when you were telling me that I had such a great 2024, I was like, did I? I thought it sucked. But I'm hearing you say all the things back that I did, and I'm like, no, that does sound like a good year. Why aren't I more? But like having that vision board, seeing myself slowly check stuff off, it was hard for me to like say like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, well, I clearly thought it was a big deal last year when I put it on my big vision board, So
like, you can't see the forest through the trees sometimes.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that like, as a competitor, like you're not gonna like be like, oh, celebrate on this too long. You just get on to the next thing. Like, that's what you, like, do as a competitor. But yeah,
and even like not even like non-sport stuff, because I put stuff about like my job or like my relationships, my family, stuff like that. So even that stuff that I wouldn't have even noticed happen, because it just feels so normal. I'm like, well, of course me and my family get along great. We always have. And I look at my vision board and I'm like, oh, well, I like literally was like projecting to have like better relationships with my family this year. So it like clearly, like it just makes you have to validate like what you've done to grow.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, no, this has been cool catching up on the year. You got done.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I don't know.
You have had a great.
Can you see the comments here that people are saying?
No.
Because Liam just put in the chat that you have to come back to SOB in 2025. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm down 100%. 100%. Back to Sprawl and Brawl, and get a couple rolls with you, get a couple rolls with Liam and the whole crew.
Yeah.
Just wrapping up, I thought one interesting question to ask you. If you could go back just to the start of the year and give yourself a piece of advice, and it can't be like, oh, don't get injured or don't blow out your knee, like, not like prevent injury wise, but something that you could have told yourself at the start of the year, training wise, like what advice would you give yourself at the start of 2024 that would have helped you maybe this year?
Like two things come to mind, and like the first one that came to my mind was just to like prioritize your well-being, and the second one is just to kind of like give yourself more credit. But it's funny because I just don't think either of those things like you learn from doing anything other than like suffering through it. Like, like I don't think somebody telling you like, oh, prioritize your like well-being, don't overtrain, or like, oh, give yourself more credit. I don't feel like that's gonna stick. It's not until like you kind of go through the trenches that you're just kind of like, oh man, like I should be on my side a bit more. So but those are kind of like the two themes of this year. It's just kind of, and Justin says don't do the toe hold from top half guard. I'm not allowed to pass like that.
Yeah, no, I think maybe it's a little bit getting older too. Like you need a little bit more rest, and you just kind of like value it more and value your time more. I think like when you're younger, you can just grind more and just grind harder,
and the
like,
grinding
more sense.
Before the grinding might have actually worked towards your goals, but I've just been, I noticed it like a lot in my MMA camp, because that's where I was just kind of really being in tune with myself, and like in MMA camp, like that's when you're supposed to just go balls to the wall and go crazy and like no sleep and all that stuff, and I just couldn't do that fight. I had injuries, I got a concussion in the beginning of my fight camp, like just stuff happened where like, and I like had to wake up and I just literally couldn't do the grind. Like I needed, like rest was just what I needed at some points. Even before going to Medusa, like I don't think I trained for the last like week, 10 days before Medusa because of the between the sickness and the injury I had. Like I had a pulled nerve in my arm, and I tried going into training a couple times, and like yeah, it was just like the guys from the gym who were just like, man, like you're going to be better off going into competition a little rusty versus injured, like or messed up or sick or whatever, right? So I definitely like felt the impact of that on my performance, but at the same side, I was as soon as I started rolling again, I was so hurt again, and like I even the nerve pains like I'll start up to my back and my neck. I can't really like sit or stand that easily, and I'm like, oh, this could have been what I was trying to compete through. I can barely like I can't even lay down comfortably right now, let alone play a guard,
Yeah.
like So, yeah, it just like I said, I think it's like a higher level skill, and I think when you're younger, I think even they even say it about jiu-jitsu, like at white belt, like tons of time on the mat when you don't have a lot of specific skills to learn can be beneficial because you're just kind of like a big net gathering all the different techniques that come through. But as you get to a higher belt, which usually correlates with getting older, you don't need to just be a giant net. You need very specific training. You can train a lot less. You'll see a lot of competitors say that they only train competition rounds once, maybe twice a week, um, and just figuring out what works for you. Like that Jim Miller guy, the
Yeah.
MMA, I was watching one of his speeches when he won, and that's what he was saying. He's just like, if you're an older fighter, that just means knowing like which days are your grind days, and like that, like some days you might get to the gym and be like, not today, like
Yeah.
stuff, and so just being able to understand when to listen to your body and when to push.
Yeah. 100%. You only get one body, so you got to take care of it. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to end on. Prioritize rest, and give yourself some grace. Be kind to yourself. If you do something good, as a competitor, you usually tend to focus on the next thing. But I think people should try to be proud of themselves more, even just for getting out there and doing fucking anything.
Yeah, totally. 100%, man. Like I just taught that women's class and like the girls who came in from their first class ever, I was just like, man, like I personally feel like that is more badass than going on these huge stages, just like because that is a bigger step out of their comfort zone than it is like for me to do that stuff. And I just think that stuff is just so cool and so badass.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah, awesome just to get to chat with you and catch up. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's nice to see you again.
yeah, well, I'm sure we'll cross paths. I'd love to get up again and see everyone at Sprawler Brawl. So
Yeah, I'd love
hopefully we
that.
can make that
Yeah.
happen in 2025. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining me tonight. And yeah, we'll chat again
See
soon.
you later,
Thanks,
Josh. Bye.
Sara.